From Ellie's adorable relationship with Joel to the show's mind-blowing level of accuracy, The Last of Us adaptation had the audience gripped from the very first episode, and its renewal for a second season doesn't come as a surprise, because they were setting it up for quite some time. I mean, they just knew they were going to give you a season 2, thanks to the massively positive response they received after only 2 episodes had been aired. That's got to be a record breaker, but for all the fans who have played the game, this might not be that shocking. Everybody knows that they cannot think about the first game without thinking about the second one, because it almost feels like both of them complete each other. As soon as the second part of the game was out, all of the doubt simply vanished, because they made the second part even better than the first. Now, if your expectations are along those lines, you can probably tell from the pace of the show's first season, they'll only be covering the story from the first game. Obviously, it's one of the most narrative-rich games out there, and they have to go through it slowly so that the viewers can explore the universe.
With doctors, they're working on a cure.
I've heard this before.
And whatever happened to me is
It's the key to finding the vaccine. That's what this is. We've heard this a million times. Vaccines, miracle cures. None of it works.
Man, I didn't ask for this.
You and me both.
But you know what this means? They'll probably end this season on a brilliant cliffhanger. It's the same one that had the game players dying for a second part, not knowing what happens next. It ended up on a pretty life-death kind of note, but just like the game, they're gonna leave it open for continuation in the second season, and it'll probably begin right after Joel saves Ellie. Now, the relationship that these two have might be super perplexing at times. I mean, Joel seems to hate her sometimes, but he mostly has this affection for her that he never declares loudly. On the other hand, he would do anything to protect her, and as the show progresses, you will only see this relationship evolve into something even more substantial. Joel will become a proper father figure for the little girl, and she'll make it through in one piece, all thanks to him. Even though these are pretty bold assumptions, based on the fact that they will continue to follow the source material very closely, I'm pretty sure they won't change the plot line's major details. Now, for the final act to have its impact, the directors have to properly nourish the bond that the two main characters share, and seeing how much time you spend just observing the two interact through every episode, there's no way you wouldn't feel closer to them by the end.
Everybody I have cared for has either died or left me. Everybody except for you. So don't tell me that I'd be safe with somebody else, because the truth is, I would just be more scared.
And that's exactly when, in the games, Joel is faced with a choice. Either he lets Ellie die, or the entire world stays plagued by the madness of this disease. And without even blinking, Joel chooses Ellie. And once they end the first season off with this, the story for the next season will be all laid out for them, because the second game has a pretty crucial time jump. The Last of Us 2 starts a few years after the ending of the first game, and some of the most major things have changed, like the fact that Ellie will no longer be a little kid. She'll be grown up, and her relationship with Joel will gradually change. It's for this reason that they're putting so much time into establishing their relationship, because it's vital to know the sort of love that both of them feel for each other, and only then could we see it.
Maybe if you just would have given them more time, they could have figured something out.
There was no cure.
At the start of the game, it was evident that there was tension between the two, because as she grows up, she wants to start becoming independent. But on the other hand, Joel's still in his protective father-like stance, and he's scared out of his mind, because all he wants is for her to be safe. Obviously, the danger that she's in has been clear since the very first episode, and that's what drives Joel's horror home, because he feels for her exactly as a father would. He just can't let her take huge risks on her own. But this evolving relationship will lead to one very painful moment. He might die in the second season. By now, even if you've been trying to save yourself from spoilers, you might have gotten to know that the second game is played from Ellie's perspective, and there's a reason for that. Somewhere in the first half of the game, Joel dies at the hands of Abby and her men, and that's where things start to become very complicated.
Joel, get up. Please stop. Please don't do it. Joel, please get up. No!
But if you're thinking that the showrunners might skip over this painful moment, there's no point in hoping. If you haven't noticed, Pedro Pascal has done a phenomenal job at having the audience attached to him. His acting is so pure and genuine, I just want to protect that man at all costs.
What, because your wife won't let you?
Joel,
She the one who kept you off the radio? Is that why you stopped messaging me back?
after I ditched the Fireflies, Maria and her crew found me. They're good people. They didn't have to take me in, but they did. And all they ask is that I follow their rules.
I'm your brother.
Yeah, I'm aware.
From the very beginning, where you see his life falling apart as his daughter dies, till the end, where you see all the big and small sacrifices he makes for Ellie, it's all setting up for his eventual death in the second season. Knowing Craig, this man loves seeing fans in pain, and I just know that this death is going to be brutal. But this plot detail is crucial because from here onwards, Ellie is just plunged into the world all on her own. The independence she wanted is finally here, and the fact that the two didn't get to have a pleasant goodbye kills me every time I think about it. Now, the little things might change, just like the changes the showrunners have introduced in the episode so far, but there's no way Abby could be a non-controversial character.
Hey. What were you dreaming about?
Was I talking?
If you haven't played the games, you may not know her at all, but this is a name that everyone had mixed feelings about by the end of the second game. She's initially introduced as a villain, because she's the one who gets Joel killed. In the beginning, it's all pretty mysterious, and though it's clear that she was there to seek revenge, nobody knew what the reason behind this killing was. Needless to say, she's one of the most complex characters in the entire show, and the reason they are focusing so much on Ellie's behavior and tendencies is to set the perfect base for the deeper exploration in the second season. As you all might know, the second game is super dense, and while the first game had a fairly straightforward narrative, the second season of the show will probably go much deeper into everybody's backstories, including Ellie and Abby. So if you feel that you don't know enough about Ellie's past yet, you don't need to worry because you're gonna have all of your questions answered. In fact, there's a much broader universe waiting for you. By now you probably saw clickers as the greatest threat for the humans still protected from the virus, but there's so much more you haven't even seen yet. This same universe consists of giant, scary creatures, each deadlier than the previous one, and considering how you saw Joel in combat against the clickers, it's only a precursor to the much greater fight scenes that are to come in the next season. But knowing just how long the second game was and the details that went into every sector they explored, it's safe to say that things won't end with the second season. They'll most probably divide the second game into two different parts, so you better stay geared up for a third season too. That's all I've got on how The Last of Us is set up for season 2. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.